Okay, guys, welcome in. We are going to create a project in Torchmate today, so I'm going to go ahead and get that launched. And then I'm going to take a look at the project here. This tutorial will be on Google Classroom, but this is what we're going to do, a little nameplate. Obviously, yours doesn't need to say Mr. Fay. Yours should say your name. It could be your first name, could be your last name. You could make it for someone else. It doesn't bother me, whatever you want to do, as long as it's obviously school appropriate. But so what we're going to do is create some text. So I'm going to show you today how to use the text command, and then we're going to build a base, and then we're going to weld those two together, and we'll get it ready and prepped for cutting out. So it says, please refer to the PDF plans for specific dimensions to build this part. I'll post those plans on Google Classroom, but you can also find them on our shared drive. So we've talked about the P drive, where you save to your personal drive information, but I have parts that I've put on the shared drive for you. So if we hit this PC, and you guys will have access to this S drive. Again, your drives will look a little different than mine because I have access to some that you don't, but the shared drive, the S, so the personal drive is where you'll save everything, but if you would like to get stuff that I've put out there, it's on the shared drive. So if I double click the shared drive, yours will automatically default to SLOHS. I have one extra step here, but so when you click it, it'll look like this, and you'll see this industrial technology here. You can double click that, and we have a folder in there for Metal 2. So we'll click there. There's a Torchmate tutorials folder, and inside there, I have, well, actually the first one where we kind of just drew a happy face, but we're looking today to start the nameplate. So that's the one that we'll do. Double click there and pop this up, and it gives us this some dimensions. Okay. So as you'll notice that the font, we're going to start with the font. So it should be 4 inches tall, and we're going to set it to a width of 12. Now it looks a little, this base for it that we're going to bend, we'll put in the press brake and bend it so that the nameplate stands up straight. But it is the same width. It's just maybe a tiny bit less. But basically, your text size should be 4 by 12. So let's jump right in and get to talking about how to do that. Okay. So this is the text command right here. And if we just start with the first one, we can come over here and draw a box. And inside that box, we can type. So this is where I will, and I'm going to turn the caps lock key on, and I'll go Mr. Fay. Okay. Oops, I don't actually want to hit return because it's going to create a new line. So I'll just click off of that. Now, once I've clicked off of that part, you'll see here that this is the grip, which is we have it in our middle node. So that's just the location. This is the size. So first thing I want to do is change. I'm going to unlock the proportional scaling because I don't want it to scale proportionally, because I want to be able to modify it to make it 12 by 4. So we're going to set the height first to 4 and hit enter. And that's going to look really tight together because we haven't changed the width yet to 12. Okay, zoom out just a tad, and that looks pretty good. So you can see we've got our grips. It's 12 inches wide, 4 inches tall. Now, if we look at if we wanted to get it like right on the money somewhere, we could just shift this over on the X to like 10, and we can see that it is in fact going to be about 12 of those grid spaces. So again, not critical. Doesn't really matter for what we're doing right now, but that's good. So essentially we are done with the font. Now let me show you though, because you may not want to use this same font. So if we highlight it, we have to double click on it to select it, and we can highlight it, and here are your fonts, and there's a bunch of them. Okay. If you have it highlighted, it will give you a preview of what it'll look like. You can actually drag this preview to see it a little larger. And well, I got some graphics cards issues going on here, but it won't actually look like that. I'm not sure what's going on with our graphics, but there it goes. That looks a little better. So that's Ariel Black. If you go to, this is selected fonts, so these are a couple that we had available. If we go to all fonts, you can scroll through here and find one that you like. Okay, I'm not going to be particular exactly which one you use. Find one that suits your pleasure. However, we are going to cut this thing out. So something we want to start to consider is, say, for example, this font right here. If I was to choose that one, just double click it to choose. This letter now, even though it is still ballpark, it probably changed the size a little bit. It's still ballpark 4x12. This piece right here got really thin, and a really thin part like that is probably just going to melt, because you come around with a plasma cutter, it's going to come around this edge and cut here, and that plasma cutter is cutting around, ballpark's 30,000 degrees Fahrenheit. It's very, very hot. So it's cutting here. This piece of material is going to get red hot, and when it rounds this corner here, there's a good chance this just melts off. So you want to look for fonts that are a little bit thicker and bolder and have a little bit more. So a little bit more meat to them. So if we take a look here, we like any of like that would be okay probably. That's kind of thinner one there, sort of pushing it. If we get into some creative fonts, we have to be real cautious of like the scripty kind of fonts. Let me look for one of those where they get kind of swirly and cursive-y. What's going on? Our graphics is lagging behind here. That would be a good one. That one would work if you want kind of that more modern sort of bold look. But some hieroglyphic stuff there. So like this one wouldn't work, right? That's not going to work because it has like a second line to it that the torch can't cut that out. So that one won't work. One of my go-tos, the other ones that won't work are obviously that one won't work. So any of the like really cursive-y ones, if it has a little bit of swirl to it or something, that's okay. But as we get into some of the more cursive style, swoopy, like that one, okay, that won't work. All those little tails on the Y and that lowercase z, even the uppercase Z there, like this right here, that part's just going to melt off. So it's not going to hold. So one of my go-tos is whoops, I'm adding font here, is to come up here to Ariel. And I like the Ariel Black, actually. That's a pretty solid one. Oh, I need to highlight that and then change it to Ariel Black. So let's go down here to Ariel. Ariel Black's a really good, solid, kind of bold font that will that I've cut out many, many times, and it usually does really, really well. So, okay, now I'm going to edit this because I accidentally added a couple letters. Okay, and click off of there and make sure that so it changed a little bit. Let's go ahead and change this back to 12, and we'll change this guy to 4, and that one looks pretty good. Okay. So that's it for the font. I'm done with that part, okay? So the next part we're going to do is create the base, and then we need to weld it together. So if you want to pause the video at this point and just work on the font, go ahead and do that. Pause it. Go get your font, find one that you like, get it set to 12 by 12 inches on the X and 4 inches on the Y, and then when you have that set and you're happy with it, come back and turn the video back on, and we'll talk about the next part. I'm going to go ahead and save this right here. I'm going to save as, and I'm going to drop this into my Metal 2 folder on my P drive. Again, really critical here. Save in, go to your P drive, find that Metal 2 folder that we created, or that you created, and here's mine right there, Metal 2. I'm going to click open. Now I'm inside Metal 2, and I have some extra stuff in here, but I am going to title this one TF. Please always remember to start with your initials. And then I'll put an underscore in there and then call this nameplate. Okay, so TF nameplate. So I got that guy saved. Okay. Okay, now we're back and we're ready to build the base. So let's take a look at our plans for the base. And the base is going to be just a little bit bigger. We're going to give ourselves 4.5. And we're going to allow that 4.5 so that we can, that way we can have a little bit of room here to put in the press and bend, so we don't have to try to bend right on the letters we'll have just a little bit of room there to bend this thing to 90, or even just a little bit over 90, and this will hold this guy flat on, it'll sit on the table and hopefully look pretty nice. Okay, so we're going to go 12 by 4.5, and that's just a rectangle, and then we're going to cut out some 3.5 by 5.25 holes in it just to lighten it up. The other thing it does is it allows us so that if it's not a completely flat surface that you're setting it on, and this is a big old flat surface, it'll rock and wiggle on any type of little imperfection in the surface, whereas if we just have the outline, it'll tend to sit a lot better that way. So, okay, so let's draw this 4.5 by 12. So we'll go back to Torchmate, and I'm going to start here with a rectangle, and I'm going to go like this. Okay, now I'm going to go 12 here, and 4 here, and I'm actually going to go ahead and, oh, that didn't work. What did I do? There we go. The 4 didn't stick. Okay, 4, enter. Okay, that looks better. So now what I'm going to go ahead and do is just click off of it, and I'm going to grab it at this nub down on the bottom left corner, and I'm going to put that at 0, 0. I'm going to go 0, enter, and I'm going to go 0 here. Okay, so that lines that up directly on the bottom. Okay. I'm also, for the time being, I am going to turn the fill off. So I can hit Alt-S on the keyboard or come up here to View and click Show Fill. Okay, so there's my object. All right, my next one, the next rectangle I need to draw is 5.5 by 3.5, and you'll it's not given to you here, but this is, I need to update this plan. Sorry about that. This should be a 1/2 inch. It's going to be a 1/2 inch over and a 1/2 inch up is where so we're going to have a 1/2 inch of material all the way around this whole thing, and then right here as well in the middle. So what I'm going to do is go back here to the Torchmate software, zoom in a little bit, and draw another rectangle. And this time I'm just going to go right here, and we're going to say that this was 5.25 right here by 3.5. Okay, so width here 5.25. Oops, 25. Enter, and 3.5. Okay, let's double check that. Yep, that looks good. Okay, so now I'm going to click off of here, and I'm going to again choose this bottom nub, but this time, because I know this one's at 0, 0, and I want a 1/2 inch of space here and a 1/2 inch space on the X and on the Y. So the X, we make this 0.5, enter, and if we make the Y also 0.5, enter. Uh-oh, what'd I do? I did something wrong, because that should have a little bit of a buffer there. Oh, I think I made my nameplate 4, not 4.5, or my first rectangle. So no problem, we can fix that. Click on this one. Oh yeah, there it is. That's 4. That needs to be 4.5. There we go. Looks better. Okay, I'm gonna duplicate this one. So Control D is duplicate, or come up here to Edit and choose Duplicate. Okay, now I'm gonna give that I'm just gonna hit the E button to move it down. So that automatically set my Y for me. Remember, E centers height-wise, and C would center right to left, but I don't actually want it center, so I'm gonna move this guy over, and let's go take a look. So if this was 1/2 and we went 5.25, this point right here would be 5.75 plus another quarter, should be 6.25 if I'm doing my math correctly. So we'll put this guy over here, and we'll make this 6.25, and that looks pretty good. Okay. Now, if we look at the Show Fill, so go back up here to View, Show Fill, it's all solid. So to join these objects, or to get those parts so that the software knows that those are all related, we're going to highlight all of them. So draw a box around all of them, and come up here to Arrange and say Make it a path. And that looks pretty good. And we're almost done, believe it or not. We're getting real close here. Okay. So So now what I'm going to do is actually grab this, and now when I grab it, it grabs everything. It's all one part now. So I can just move this guy up here, and what I'm going to do is just kind of eyeball this part. So I'm going to move it up, and I want my font to overlap just a little bit. Let's turn the fill off. So I'm just going to hit Alt S on the keyboard. I want my font to be just overlapping that line enough that when I weld them, there's some material there to weld those two pieces together. Okay. So at this point, I think we are ready to weld it. And so what I'm going to do is highlight all of it. And this is just going to be a basic weld. So I'll click here and click basic weld. All right. And there we go. Let's do a show fill. Okay. Now you'll notice that I kind of centered the object on my base. So the M here starts a little bit over. And actually, if I was to draw a line straight up, the Y would actually hang out over this side a little bit. I just thought that looked a little cleaner than the one I originally did here where I lined up the left side. You can do it however you want. I just thought that, like, I didn't like the way this long edge out here looked. So up to you how you want to do it. I'm okay either way, as long as you get these things together where we can put it in the press and put a bend right here and fold it up so it sits on the desk, and it'll hopefully look nice like this one here. Just sit on the desk or on a table or wherever you put it, and hopefully it looks good. Okay. All right, so that's pretty much it. At this point, when I click on there now, that's just one object. If I grab it to move it, it moves around. It's going to be just under or just over it, just under 8.5 inches, because we had 4.5 on this part and 4 up here. Tiny bit over 12. That's because, like I said, I actually made it grow a little when I did this, because now the Y is hanging out that way. But that's fine. It's in that ballpark, and I'm happy with it. So I need to save this time. Since I already saved it to the correct location, I see the name of it is right up here, tfnameplate.edu. This is the educational version of Torchmate. That's why it says edu. So I'm ready to save. I can just hit save. I don't even have to hit save as. Okay. At this point, if we were going to go cut it out on the machine, we'd actually need to create what's called a tool path. But we're not going to get into that right now. For now, I just want you guys to make this part. We'll get into tool paths later. We'll talk more about those extensively, but we'll do that in a different video. So make sure you have this one saved in your P drive, and I will go through your P drives and grade these. Okay. And like I said, you can use any font that you want as long as it'll cut out of material. Good rule of thumb for the material size is that it should be at least 1/8 of an inch thick. 1/8 is kind of the minimum. Anything thinner than 1/8. So if we chose a different font, so if I did like a font here, if I did something like this and I chose let's just say if we did a NASDF and then highlighted that and I chose a font, let's go way down the alphabet here and just pick something. Let's go stylus and see what that looks. Oh, I can't load the styles. How about style? There we go. Okay, not this one. Okay, so if cancel that. All right, so if this one here, if I made it 12 by 4, I can look and see, are these guys about 1/8 of an inch? So let me just I'm gonna use the arrow keys to move it over a little bit. I would say it's close, right? So that, like, if this here is this might work. That's probably close enough, because if this is 1/2 inch right through one of these grid lines, 1/4 of an inch would be half of that. This looks like it's just under 1/4. So these are probably about 3/16 of an inch. If you're not sure and you want to check, here's how I do it. There's probably a better way. This is how I do it. I just come over here and just draw a rectangle that I think is about the same size, something like that. And when I click it, it tells me up here how wide that is. And so that says it's 1.75 or 1.72. which is just under an eighth. An eighth is 1.875. Excuse me, 3/16 is 0.1875, and an eighth is 0.125. So this would work, probably. It's a little bit over an eighth. Not much, though, like 20, 50 thousandths over an eighth. So that might work. If it was that size, it would probably cut out. It'd be pretty thin, but it would probably work. So when you're looking at your fonts, kind of take a look at those and make sure you're within that 1/8 inch overall. Like absolute minimum is an 1/8 of an inch. All right. Okay. If you have questions, let me know, and I'll look forward to seeing what you guys come up with, creativity on these. Have a good one.